I actually already recorded a review for Godzilla King of the Monsters, and while I was editing it, I was doing some research on the history of Godzilla, the stories, the franchise, and all that stuff, and I realized a lot of my issues had already been addressed uh, in in the backstory. So annoyingly, I've had to re-record it.
Sam on the sofa.
Godzilla King of the Monsters was written and directed by Michael Dougherty, who, through some research, I found out was also one of the writers for X-Men 2, which I really liked, and Superman Returns, which was a film. Also stars an amazing cast, including, believe it or not, Charles Dance is in this movie. I kept forgetting Charles Dance was in this movie. Film basically starts off from almost like that Batman v Superman way, where it starts off at the end of the action of the 2014 Godzilla. You know, people at the ground in the rubble. You kind of get like a. It was very Batman v Superman esque. Bruce Wayne running into the disaster. It had that. It was the same idea basically, but it gave you a kind of a quick summary of some of the people who were actually in it and how it affected them again on the ground, watching these things battle and destroy each other and destroy their city and lives at the same time. The plot is that 5 years later, 5 years after the destruction of whatever city, I think it was San Francisco, I can't remember, whatever city that the 2014 movie took place in, the world is kind of coming to terms with the idea that these monsters exist. They've existed for a long time. If anything, we exist in their world rather than them existing in our world. They've just been in hibernation, and through nuclear testing or drilling and things like this, we've started to awaken them, and there are consequences. Fortunately, there are other people who wish to purposefully awaken them for their own reasons, and that's kind of where the movie really kicks off. I liked the movie, yeah. It's unfortunate because I don't like big monster movies. I don't really see the point of them because the scale and the monsters overtake the plot quite a lot, and we just kind of accept things in the plot just to further monster destruction. And unfortunately, this film did that quite a lot. That there were whole bits of it that made no sense and were only done to further monsters destruction or big things blowing up. Uh, Fine, but for me it was pointless. I didn't really understand a lot of the characters' reasons for making the decisions they'd made. There was quite a early twist in a movie which I honestly I saw coming, and I understood. I felt like if you dove into that plot twist a lot more and kind of gave that character the chance to kind of explore that character's reason for doing what they did, it would have made a much more character-based movie. But it's not meant to be a character-based movie. It's meant to be a monster-based movie. So that was just kind of like, right, this I've done this quickly. This is why I've done it. Let's move on. Let's move on. Which is a shame, but those are the decisions you make when you make these kind of films. I really, really liked the cinematography of the movie. I really loved the visuals. Nowadays, especially in a high budget movie like this, you can't really expect. There's a standard that they have to maintain, and I think that they really did well. There were certain scenes that when you saw it, you were like, "That's fan service." I don't know much about the character. I'm not a fan of Godzilla, as I said, but like watching it, you're like, "That's fan service." But that looks cool. There was a couple of scenes I was like, that looks like a screensaver. That almost looks like an image you would find on a screensaver. But it was really cool. So I really loved the sound. I loved the cinematography. I loved the action of when the monsters were facing off with each other, which was really, really exciting. I really liked the visuals of King Ghidorah. I love Greek mythology, and he looked like straight out something from Greek mythology. I loved the rules of how his head how the heads work if one gets cut off. That was really, really cool. I loved when him and Godzilla collided. Uh, it's unfortunate because, as I said at the beginning, some of my criticisms turned out to be law in the franchise. So, like, what was good about the film was they kind of went into the backstory of why these monsters are there, how long they've been there, and where some of them have come from. I thought, oh, that's silly, right? That's a silly thing. But it turns out, no, that's accurate. Sure, there's a reason why I don't like monster movies. I love comic book movies, um, so I should be a lot more forgiving. But I guess when you're introduced to something like this for the first time, you sometimes you have to just go, all right, if you like it, I guess it's okay, but it's silly. It's okay to me. They tried to give Godzilla a love interest, which again I thought was stupid. Right? No, apparently there's logic to that as well. Fine, how it works, they try to explain it in the movie. I'm like, that's not a real thing. But fine, let's go with that. In terms of the acting, it was serviceable. Again, they had amazing actors in this. They had Cal Chandler in here. I'm gonna look it up. Vera Farmiga, Millie Bobby Brown, David Strathairn was in this. Kind of. You. It almost felt like the actors, they had no reason to have such big name actors in this, in a movie that could have just had anyone in there. Charles Dance, I love Charles Dance. I think he's one of the most underrated. I don't even know if you can describe Charles Dance as underrated. I think everyone gets how amazing he is. But I kept forgetting every time he was on screen. I thought, oh yeah, Charles Dance is in this film. How do I keep forgetting Charles Dance? Why is he in this film? He could have been played by anybody. There was nothing about his role that was like, you know what? Of course it was Charles. Only Charles could have played that role. I don't think anyone in this film could only have been played by that actor. I think any of them could have been replaced by anyone and it wouldn't have made a difference. But again, I almost have to remember the fact that it's not about the human storyline. It's about the monster fighting, which I couldn't be excited about. It was visually amazing, but it doesn't mean anything to me really. All in all, I had a good time. I enjoyed the movie. I think visually it was amazing to see, but I'm not excited about what they do next. If I'm honest with you, I know people will love it. I know there's some fans who will really love it, but I know there are going to be fans who really hate it, unfortunately. And fine, that's, I guess, again, it's almost like my first two reviews both ending, it's fine, which is unfortunate for me at the moment. But hey, it is what it is. Thank you very much for watching. I really appreciate your time, and I'll see you soon.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe.